If you work remotely, there are two popular visas that you can get that allow you to move to Europe. I'm talking about the Digital Nomad Visa for Spain and for Portugal. But which is better, and what are the pros and cons of each? Which visa is right for you? Personally, my husband and I spent months researching both visas before we eventually decided on one. So in this video, I'll compare each visa based on 7 key factors and give them points based on which one is the winner for each category. And make sure you stay till the end of the video because the last one was a total deal breaker for us. Let's go! Both Portugal and Spain launched their digital nomad visas relatively recently, in 2022 and 2023, attracting non-EU remote workers and freelancers to live there while working for companies or clients abroad. It's a great option for those wanting a high quality of life, lower living costs, and the freedom to travel around Europe. So let's look into the first category, the eligibility requirements, which do differ between these two visas. The whole point of the digital nomad visa is that you work remotely with international clients and don't look for a job competing with locals. So with the Portuguese visa, there is no work allowed at all. And it's interesting that with the Spanish one, up to 20% of income can come from Spanish companies or clients. Of course, the main stream of income still has to come from outside of the country, but you still have a buffer of 20% to earn from Spain. The income requirement for a Portuguese digital nomad visa is higher than for a Spanish one. It's 3,480 euros per month for a main applicant in Portugal, while it's only 2,763 euros per month in Spain. You must purchase health insurance for a whole year if you are applying with the Portuguese visa, but for the Spanish visa, you have an exception. If you apply as a contractor or freelancer or a business owner, you will be contributing to social security system in Spain, and you will be granted with free public healthcare access. But if you apply as a remote employee, then the same requirement applies to you, and you'll need private health insurance for the initial year. For the Spanish digital nomad visa, it is required to show proof of professional experience, and you can prove it either with a university degree that is related to the current job you perform, or showing proof of 3 years of professional activity, either with recommendation letters from previous companies or clients, work contracts, employment record, or, for example, with tax returns. So that does complicate a bit the things and create a chunk of additional paperwork around that particular requirement. However, Portugal's digital nomad visa requires proof of accommodation, typically in the form of a rental agreement, and many consulates ask for a 1-year contract. This requires a lot of money spent on securing the lease and paying upfront for the apartment. And that's why in this category, Spain gets a point due to the lower income threshold, flexibility to earn some local income, and just generally lower expenses for securing the visa. By the way, I have a checklist for the Spanish digital nomad visa that walks you through all the requirements step by step. Click the link in the description below to download it. The next factor to consider is the duration and renewal. So Portugal's digital nomad visa is actually split into 2 visas. One is the so-called temporary stay visa, ideal for short-term stays valid for up to a year, but they are non-renewable. And residence visa starts with a 4 months validity, allowing you to apply for a 2-year residence permit, renewable for 3-year periods. The trick here is that once you enter Portugal on a residence visa, you must convert it into a separate residence permit with the first 120 days. So your visa is still not a residence permit itself. For a Spanish digital nomad visa, you can apply either in the Spanish consulate of your home country and get it initially for a year with 2 extensions afterwards until you can apply for a permanent residency, or you can also apply directly from Spain and get it initially for a whole 3 years and renew it after for 2 remaining years. So here Spain again gets a point as it's a more straightforward process since you don't need to convert a temporary visa into a residence permit like in Portugal, and your visa is already valid as a residence permit from the start. Both Spain and Portugal allow family members to join the main applicant under Digital Nomad Visa. That means spouses and children. Your spouse will be granted with the legal right to work in Portugal or Spain. For the Portuguese visa, as I mentioned before, the average monthly income requirement for a single person is 3,480 euros. For the rest of family members, you can see below the financial requirements. And for Spain, the requirements are 2,763 euros for the main applicant, and here below you can see how much it is for the rest of family members. So in the end, it comes down to similar numbers if you're moving as a family. So for families, the income requirement is a tie. When it comes to getting permanent residency or citizenship, Portugal has a big advantage over Spain. In Spain, you can apply for permanent residency after 5 years, but citizenship takes 10 years unless you are from a Latin American country, the Philippines, or a few other countries, in which case it's only 2 years. Plus, Spain has a stricter language requirement, usually it's B2 level. Portugal, on the other hand, makes things much easier. You can apply for either permanent residency or citizenship after just 5 years. And the only language requirement is a basic A2 test. That means Portugal solidly wins a point here. It's a much faster and simpler path to EU citizenship. Okay, let's move on to the next category, which is taxes. So Portugal officially ended its non-habitual resident tax regime in January 2024, meaning that new digital nomads can no longer take advantage of it. That regime has been a major tax advantage for digital nomads as it offered either tax exemptions on foreign income or a flat 20% rate for up to 10 years. Now Portugal introduced a new system, but it's much more restrictive. Most digital nomads won't actually qualify for it unless they work in scientific research, innovation, or for a Portuguese-based company in a qualifying sector. So instead, you'll be taxed at Portugal's standard progressive rate, which can get up to 53% on the worldwide income. Spain, on the other hand, has the Beckham law, which allows newcomers to pay a flat 24% tax on income up to 600,000 euros for 6 years. However, not everybody can benefit from this tax regime. If you're applying as a freelancer or a business owner, you'll be taxed at the usual progressive rate. Only remote employees can benefit from it. But here are some implications involved as well, so it's better to consult that with a tax advisor first. And it's currently not possible for W-2 employees from the US apply for the Digital Nomad Visa for Spain, as there is no social security coverage agreement between the US and Spain. So you would need to apply as a contractor or as a self-employed for your own LLC, which means Americans are unfortunately exempt from the Beckham's law tax regime. So as a result, it's a tie. There is currently no good tax benefits for either of these visas. So the next important factor to compare is cost of living. When it comes to the cost of living, Portugal tends to be more affordable than Spain. In Lisbon, monthly expenses will typically range between 1,800 and 2,500 euros. While in Barcelona, you are looking at around 2,000 euros to 3,000 euros. Of course, costs vary depending on lifestyle and location. Spain has a wider range. Living in smaller cities can be much cheaper, but if you are aiming for Madrid, Barcelona, Bilbao, Malaga, or Valencia, expect to pay more. Overall, I would honestly give a point here to Portugal. Prices in Spain, especially for rent, have skyrocketed in many cities, and in Portugal, you have a big variety of small and medium sized towns where the expenses are lower while you still get a great, high quality of life. So, with all that being said, when my husband and I were choosing between these two visas, one key factor was a deal breaker for us. As I mentioned before, for a Spanish visa, there are two options on how you can apply. Either you apply at a Spanish consulate in your home country and get a visa for initial whole year, or you can come to Spain on a tourist visa and apply directly from Spain and get it initially for 3 years. So the processing time of the visa is super fast. It's just 20 business days. And if you don't get a decision, then you can also appeal for a positive administrative silence, and then it gets approved instantly. So with Portugal's process, it's much more complicated, and who knows why they decided to structure it this way. It really seems illogical because you must apply in person at a consulate in your home country. There is no other way, and the processing is between 1 to 2 months. And here is where it gets complicated. Remember when I said earlier about how you need to show a year of accommodation? Well, because you have to apply from the consulate in your home country, this often means applicants must first go to Portugal, secure a lease, fly back, apply for the visa, and wait for approval while paying for an empty apartment in Portugal before they can move. The only way around this is to find and secure an apartment remotely from your home country, but this means you can't see it in person before renting it, and you're paying for something blindly, hoping that it won't be a scam and the apartment will be looking the same way it looked on the listings. Additionally, landlords may request several months of rent upfront, especially if you are lacking a Portuguese guarantor. Plus, you are still paying for an empty apartment for a couple months while you are waiting for your visa to be approved. So you can imagine how many additional costs this process requires. This is why it was a deal breaker for us. So far, we have 3 points for Spain and 2 for Portugal. However, let's give it another shot with the bonus category lifestyle and infrastructure. So, both Spain and Portugal have a lot to offer, but their lifestyles are indeed different. In Portugal, the weather is mostly mild, however, it's generally cooler and cloudier than Spain because of its proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. For warm sunny days, you need to go down south, and that can limit your options of cities and towns to choose. But in Spain, most of the popular coastal cities, such as Barcelona and Valencia, will generally be warmer since they are on the Mediterranean instead of the Atlantic. Madrid is also warmer than Lisbon due to its hot desert climate. As for the language, it depends on whether you plan on speaking English or learning the local language. Portugal has a long shared history with England, so English is commonly spoken in Portugal, and most Portuguese people speak much better English than Spanish people do. However, if you're planning on moving to either country, it's important that you also learn the local language. And most people find that Spanish is an easier language for English speakers to learn due to the simpler pronunciation. Overall, I would say Spain has more variety, and not just in terms of climate and nature, but also in terms of the cultural aspect. Portugal is a much smaller country with only two large cities, Lisbon and Porto. But in Spain, you have big metropolitan cities like Madrid and Barcelona with all year round massive concerts and events. And you also got cultural gems that are so different from each other in their history, food, and traditions. I'm talking about cities such as Santander, Bilbao, or San Sebastian in the north, Valencia or Alicante, Murcia on the east, or Seville, Marbella, Cadiz in the south of Spain. Spain is definitely more touristic but offers a wider range of things to do and things to see. Plus, it's easy to travel not only internationally with many airports that Spain provides, but also inland by riding high speed trains. In the end, Spain definitely comes out as a winner. The visa process is much more straightforward, with the option to apply directly from Spain, allowing you to achieve your dream life much faster than you'd expect. And you can start your life in Spain for 3 years right away without dealing with all the paperwork and extra costs that come with securing accommodation up front. I have a checklist that you can download for free in the description below, and it will guide you on what documents you need for the Spain Digital Nomad Visa, whether you apply as a remote employee, contractor, or a business owner. So click the link in the description to get access to it. And if you're looking for a done for you relocation service, my team and I can help you with the entire process, including getting your visa and all the residency permits, securing an apartment, enrolling your kids into schools, and much, much more. So we provide a one-stop shop to make your dream of moving to Spain a reality. If it's something that you are looking for help with, you can book a free consultation with me where I'll help you create a custom relocation plan and show you how we can make your move to Spain as smooth as possible. The link to book a call is in the description below the video. And that's it for today. If you're interested in learning more about the Spanish Digital Nomad Visa, I made another video on that topic, so you can go ahead and check it out next. And I see you next week. Hasta pronto!